What's up, everyone? So I'm making this video on sit and go tournament that I played. Just to give you a little heads up, this tournament I played about a week ago, so I'm not going to be too fresh in my head on what I did or why I did it. I also may have been playing a few different tables at the same time, so I'm going to give you just a quick rundown of the type of stuff I do in sit and go tournaments and how I play them. Um, First off, I'm playing ace 9 out of the blind, so just kind of check and complete and give up the hand pretty easily. I'm not going to get out of line and sit and goes. My three betting range is a lot tighter than it would be in multi-table tournaments, and I play a lot tighter strategy pre-flop early on. And the reasoning is, I want to make sure I get into the later stages of these tournaments with a lot of fold equity, because you get to a situation where you're shoving or folding pretty early, especially this being a turbo tournament. I believe it's a 5 minute blind level. All right, so again, just folding. I'm gonna skip forward a little bit. I don't want to make this video too long. It's a 40-minute tournament. I'm gonna try to condense it as much as I can. All right, so ace 10 on the button. Let's see what I do here. Just a standard 2.5x raise. I'll probably just make a regular continuation bet. Check behind the turn. And just go ahead and give it up on the river. I'm not going to make any crazy hero calls in sit and go tournaments. I pretty much, my philosophy is these chips are at a premium early on. I probably could have set mine there just because you could win a big pot. But let's see. Move forward a little bit faster here. Okay, I wish I could see his cards. The guy had pocket aces and made trip aces. Pretty easy game at that point. You just bet all three streets. All right, continuing just I'd avoid ever limping in and sit and go tournaments. I pretty much don't limp in any type of tournament. It allows things like that to happen. Someone's going to raise in position and then have position on you the rest of the hand and just be able to take advantage of you. Yeah, even a 2x raise, I'm not really not defending out of the big blind. I probably could, honestly. Again, this is a week ago. I'm actually a truck driver, and I've been on the road for the last 3 or 4 days. So I recorded this. I think I played a session Saturday morning. Record this, and just now getting it's Wednesday. Just now getting able to do an analysis on this. But that I probably could have played that queen five. Just defended out a small blind. All right, so pocket sixes. Obviously, just going to raise up on the button, raise the limper. And it looks like the original limper folded. Pretty good board. It's 10 high board. Only one overcard and a flush draw. All right, so he bets out the turn on me when the 5 paired. And that's very small in the river. And I decided to pay him off. And he was on a flush draw. He should have, if he was really considering bluffing, he should have bet a lot more on the river there. That's just keeping me in the hand with such a small bet. He probably could have considered check raising the flop. That might have got me out of there as well. I'm almost certain he would have got me out of there with check raising the flop in this type of a tournament. All right, more limping on the butt or limping effectively the button because this guy's sitting out. So I mean, he should be raising that from that position every time. Let's fast forward just a little bit more here. I think the most important aspect of sit and goes, the most important part of sit and goes, is really getting late into the tournament and started getting in a situation where you're shoving or folding is pretty much your only option. I mean, my philosophy is I avoid any confrontation early, and you see a lot of these guys are limping in early. It kind of gives me a read on the type of style of play that they have, and makes me think it'd be pretty easily exploitable when I start to shove pretty light later on in these tournaments and pick up relatively big pots based on my stack size. All right, so the blinds are going up. So 50, 100. Pretty much everyone, the average stack is going to be 2,000 chips because that's what we started with. We haven't lost anyone yet. Pretty much at this, I'm looking for a premium hand. If I had something like Ace King, Ace Queen, eights or better from the small blind, I might have just shipped it in on them. As you can see, these games are played really passive. This is one of my first experiences playing sit and goes on WSOP. Back when I was a tournament grinder, 2007 through 2010, around that time period. On days when I would take a day off from poker. I'd never take like a full day off. Let's say I just had had something to do that day and I couldn't play a slate of tournaments. I'd just take 2 or 3 hours and I'd play as many sit and goes I could. I just tried to recoup some bankroll. And if I hit really well, I would take some of that money and maybe buy into a bigger tournament. And I was a regular playing a lot of satellite tournaments, especially on full tilt poker. So those tournaments are a lot like sit and goes as far as your strategy, especially the turbo versions. Okay. All right, so blinds are up again, 750, 175, 150, excuse me. All right, so at this point, pretty much my read on all these players is none of them are really playing like adhering to a strict sit and go strategy. So hold on, I'm just gonna rewind this just a tad bit. Um, yeah, so I mean, in a situation with these hands, this guy should probably either be he should be playing a hand that he's committed to. He's just not going to have implied odds at 75 150 blinds to play ace 2 suited. If he wants to shove it all in, obviously he just took down the pot right there. Everyone would have folded. And then this guy with 9-8 suited on the button, he could have just went ahead and raised him and took advantage of the fact that he's limping in with such a small stack. So, a lot going on with these games that you can really exploit. I know, at least on WSOP, sit and goes there's not as many of them that jump off just because of the traffic of the website. All right, so first time I get it in, So King 10 versus the big blind, 75, 150 blinds. He's only got 10 big blinds behind. So I can't just make a standard raise and then play out of position against him where I just got to hit a flop. So I basically just put him in a decision for his stack. With King High, King 10 is heads up is going to play pretty well against his range. And in this situation, his calling range is going to be pretty tight anyways. All right, so now he shoves in first to act. All right, so, I mean, given what this guy has, he's going to need to call, effectively, he has 860. So he's going to call 700 more to win 14. He's pretty much getting 2 to 1 on his money. He should be going with, and this guy should be shoving pretty light. He should be going with a wide range of his starting hands here, just based on the pot odds and the situation. So I wouldn't have liked it with King 7. I would still make the call. That's something I can run in my calculator and see. But one of the reasons why I didn't like it, not that I didn't like his call, but one of the reasons why if I had King 7, I wouldn't like the situation is simply because I don't think this guy's playing and it's gone with pocket jacks. I don't think he's playing like a typical sit and go strategy where he's going to be shoving a wide range. So I would put him on a good hand. Now, if he was like a regular tournament grinder and he got down to, I think he started a hand with like 8 big blinds or whatever it was, then I would feel more comfortable about King 7 because I feel like he'd be shoving a wider range. But that guy probably wasn't shoving that wide of a range. So, all right, so the first player busts out, down to 5-handed. Blind still 75, 150. So pretty much any hand you play, you should be ready to commit the whole way. All right, he should pretty much never be flat calling me in position there. He also doesn't have a lot of fold equity. It's probably just going to be a fold if he has a hand that maybe he was trying to trap. If that's the case and that's something different, then that's fine. All right, King Jack. Now I'd like to fold that in this situation. I just think that it's probably with my chips, it's probably too wide of a shove. Even though I only have about 13 big blinds here, the thing is, you got to think about the effective stacks. It's not like 13 big blinds in a tournament where the average stack is like 30. I got an average stacker right now, so effectively is when you consider stacks in a situation. I just decided to fold there. I think it's too many people to get through, and I don't need to take that risk at that point. All right, so a bet and a shove all in on a jack high board here. Ace jack versus queen jack. So yeah, I'm certain this guy would have got it in if I shoved with ace jack. So I'd have ran into some trouble here on that hand if I decided to play the king jack. All right, we're down 4-handed now. Blinds are up again, so as you can see, it's really go time. You got to make your decision and run with it. I may have decided to shove all heads up with 10-5 with 8 big blinds, but when this guy limps in, it takes away some of my fold equity, so I just decide not to shove where I'm too worried about him calling, and 10-5 is not good enough of a hand in that situation. All right. Yeah, I could see this either way. Again, I played this a week ago, so a lot of this is not fresh in my mind. 9-4, this is clearly a fold. Okay, raise and both guys fold. So this guy in the button with this much, I would be shoving pretty wide against these two smaller stacks. Oh, and I want to mention too, the payouts for this, there's a top two. So top two get paid out. So we're not quite on the pay bubble, but people are still going to be playing pretty tight. So I just okay. So it's an interesting hand. Went ahead and half pot bet the flop. He check raised a minimum, and I decided to peel, and then he shoved the turn, and I folded. Probably not. I probably should have just folded on the flop there. All right, so king three. If this folds me, I'm definitely shoving this. Okay. Let's see. All right, 8-7 again. Can't really fold when this guy limps in. Takes away a lot of my fold equity. Unfortunately, would have flopped trip eights, but you can't view poker in that realm. All right, so queen nine with five big blinds. Pretty sure I'm just shoving this all in here. All right, and get caller on the button. Don't like that. So pocket fives. Well, so for one, he should have isolated and not allowed some of these guys to come in behind. Not that they would have. I mean, it was $1,000 bet. So pocket fives in that situation, it is probably a call there. The only argument, I mean, I think that it's got to be a call because probably a good portion of my range fives dominate. I'm certain I'm shoving twos through fours, and he probably knows that if he's no if he's a regular poker player that plays these sit and go type tournaments, he would know that my range is going to include twos through fours. So I think that's an obvious call there with fives just because of that. I would isolate and get it heads up. So I win a flip with queen nine, and then the next hand I get pocket sevens. I'm certain I'm going with this no matter what happens. All right, 10-4 suited on the small blind. Kind of glad that guy shoved so I wouldn't have to think about if I want to shove or not. And this guy's still limping in even at 100, 200, which is a terrible strategy as sit and goes. You want to make sure that you're playing aggressive as possible. And all these chips, you're going to win 550 every time you just pick up the blinds in a situation. So your fold equity is at absolute premium. Like you should never just be limping in that situation. Heads up, especially out of position. Okay, it's going to go three-way to the flop here. And I flop a pair of fives. Okay, so he leads down a small blind into me. Kind of worrisome, to be honest. But given that he could be leading out on a draw, and I just have to make a move, I can't really fold too many hands that have any type of value in this situation. I just go ahead and ship it on him, get it all in, and I take down a pretty good pot for this situation in the tournament. All right, so 2.5x raise. And this guy ends up going all in for less than that. Um, so this guy's got obviously he wins his hand with queen seven, but he just needs to be looking for a hand to just shove all his money in and win with his fold equity. The blinds relative to your stacks are so big right now that just stealing around the blinds it increases your stack. Increase your stack so much that it's going to be more beneficial to just play a super aggressive strategy than to get in a situation like where he was, where he just had to call off or basically pot committing this guy with 9-8 with queen seven. Um, so there's something to keep in mind. Sit and goes. If you're not familiar with these, it's basically you just got to play aggressive and more or less make people fear you. So here I'm certain I'm gonna be shoving this all in ace nine on the button. So now with just a few steals, I'm the chip leader in this tournament. So as you can see, it's very beneficial to just play these as aggressive as possible. Definitely calling pocket nines. He shoves all in on the small blind, or excuse me, shoves all in on the button. All right, so I win a big pot, and pretty much now I'm in the driver's seat. I'm going to be shoving queen seven here, certain. This is also a bubble, so whichever one of these guys bust out, they're not going to get any money. So they're going to be playing really tight because they're on the bubble. So this gives me an opportunity to really chip up and go into playing heads up with a big chip stack so that I can make sure I win the tournament. There's obviously way more equity in winning first place in these tournaments. I'm actually somewhat surprised I even folded that. No, I think that's probably the right thing. Just let these guys bust each other out. Now, if there was a situation where they weren't even in stack and chips, let's say this guy was a very passive player and he had maybe 1,600 chips, and this guy had about 4,000 or so, he's not going to want to get in a confrontation with me with almost anything because this guy's so close to busting out. So in that situation, I could shove like any two and really put a lot of pressure on them. If he doesn't have a hand he folds, this guy's going to fold almost anything. Obviously he's going to be calling with like tens or better, premium hands like ace king, but a wide range of his starting hands that he should be calling with a shove on the button, he's not going to be able to do because of the situation. So it's something to keep in mind. You got to be, and it's probably why I shipped this in on him here. Also, my read, he's been limping in and folding pretty much the whole tournament. And does it again. So as you can see, there is still a lot of value in this sit and go tournaments to. All right, Jack 8 on the button. I just decided to ship it in on him. Probably pretty close EV wise, but aggression is always kind of gets rewarded in these tournaments. Queen Jack. Just gonna go ahead and shove that all in and get called with aces and double this guy up. So you're going to run into aces sometimes when you're playing aggressive. It just is what it is. So all right, so actually we're back to that exact situation I described earlier. This guy has 4,400. This guy only has 16. I come up with Jack 10, and I'm just going to shove this on the button here. The total pot's 1,150 pre-flop, so just winning, 750 pre-flop. So just winning a hand pre-flop, you're going to double up, or you're not going to double up, but you're going to win a decent amount every time relative to the tournament. All right, so even after this guy double up, I just scooped a couple of pots just playing aggressive and already gone up like 1,500 in chips from that point. I doubled this guy up, so that's good. And so this guy got himself to a point where, he should have been shoving the threes there pre-flop. So there's no guarantee this guy would fold because he's probably going to be pot committed. If he goes all in for his 1,300, this guy would just be calling 900 more to win that pot. I think he's going to be getting well over 2-1. So it might have been the same situation if he just shoved all in, but you just got to shove your threes there. And especially like you're out of position, I could see maybe if he was on the small blind, he could do a stop and go where he just called and then shoved it all in on the flop and any two flop. All right, so I call with 7-2. Well, actually, excuse me. I just checked my option with 7-2. He limps in on the button, and I flop trip too. So this is good for me here. I check to him. An overcard hits a turn. It would have been good if he was on that. Gave him a free card to let him hang himself, but no luck there. All right, so I min raised a button, and he ends up. All right, so I'm probably looking to check raise them all in here. I flop a flush draw. It's going to have pretty good equity against his random hand. And actually, so that's a good bet. And I got to just go ahead and fold that because I'm not going to have the right pot odds in that situation. Also, I mean, I'm pretty confident in my ability playing heads up. All right, so now I just shove king high, king four suited, heads up. I think that's going to play good against his range. And I'm going to be able to win a relatively pretty big pot heads up just by stealing the blinds. All right. So one thing I want to mention, so you guys saw that I shoved that ace-8 suited heads up. I see a lot of people that will just limp in with speculative hands that they know they want to get it in with. Ace-8 suited, excuse me, is a very good hand heads up. I just don't believe in that because, again, you're winning a pretty big pot relative to the stack every single time you just take down the blinds. So I'm not trying to trap them with a hand that's speculative in that situation. I see people do that with small pocket pairs. They'll limp and let the guy shove because your hand against a random hand that they're shoving with is not going to have the greatest equity. Even if you're ahead with ace-8, you're never going to be more than, unless you got them dominated. Even if they have a weaker 8, you're going to be split potting a lot. Or excuse me, a weaker ace. It's going to be a split pot a lot of the times. So I'd rather just shove it on them and make them make that decision than to call it off. I'm a firm believer. All right, so I 2.5x raise with 7-4, and then I get rid of it when he ships it in on me. So I'm down a lot of chips right now. All right. Okay. So I actually don't remember any of this, but he limps in on the button. Again, if he'd have just shoved this button with 9-8 suited, I'm folding my 7-4 every single time. So he allowed me to, he allowed himself to get in with a speculative hand. He kind of looked at this as a hand he was going to go with against any two. And he had me dominated, not dominated, but he had me 60-40 or so. And I was still able to hit my 7. So he could have just kept leaning on me and breaking me down. And instead, he gets in with a speculative hand and ends up doubling me up. So now I'm just pretty much shipping any hand I'm going to play. Obviously going to fold the 3 high, even though it's suited. It's just not strong enough there. Let's see what I'm going to do here. All right, so I decided to just fold 9-5. King 9, I'm going to get it in. All right, so he calls with queen 6. So again, heads up, it's a very good possibility I may call with this king 9 here if he shoves it. But he should never be calling and then calling off with queen 6. He just, if you're playing these sit and goes, you've got to utilize your fold equity to get people to fold hands. And you should never just call and then call off a shove. So got pretty lucky in this. I think that there's still a lot of value in these tournaments. If there's more that went off in times I could play them, I'd definitely jump in. This is only a $10 tournament, so keep that in mind. As you go up stakes, you're going to get stronger players that are well aware of sit and go tournament strategy. Just to give you an idea on how you can exploit people. If you're going to play these tournaments regularly, you got to get really, really familiar with your shoving and calling ranges. Obviously, anytime you get down to less than 15 big blinds, you're just going to be pretty much committed to every hand you play. So I hope you learned something from this video. If you want to give me a comment and ask any question, or let me know what type of videos you want me to do. If you want to do more, want to see more sit and go type tournaments, I'll be happy to do that. So appreciate you watching the video, and next time.